And that concludes our business and sports coverage, and we get into our big interview shortly. And tonight on Newsnight, the drawn-out implosion in the Jubilee party is the proverbial tip of the iceberg on the state of political parties since the advent of multi-party politics in Kenya about 3 decades ago. Now, for a country that's been governed by different parties, even if it's the same politicians every 5 years, events in Jubilee come as no surprise, as ruling parties have had a not more than 5-year shelf life since the ouster of KANU in 2002. Now on the program this evening, it's a post-mortem party here on Newsnight as I engage live from different locations. Let's start with Gatondo South Member of Parliament Moses Kuria. He's in Santa Barbara, California. And here in Nairobi is former Mokoroine Member of Parliament Kabando Akabando on the state of multipartyism and political parties in Kenya. Send your feedback and keep sending it in. 22422 is the SMS line and the hashtag is Newsnight. Gentlemen, thanks for making time for us this evening. I know both of you have busy schedules. And Honorable Kuria, let me actually start with you on this one. First of all, both of you have a link with Jubilee. You are either affiliated with the coalition or the party, and that's where I want us to begin. What do you make of the events that we've recently seen, including just yesterday, that event when the Secretary General of the Jubilee Party called a press conference to question the wealth and tax status of the Deputy Party leader? Moses Kuria, let me start with you on that one. What do you make of that?
Well, I think that Jubilee is trying to avoid the obvious. And the obvious is that it is material for liquidation. It is past itself by date, and I think the faster that they fast track that process, the better for all the stakeholders within Jubilee, Jubilee members or whatever is left of Jubilee, and the entire establishment that we created 4 years ago. So I think it's just trying to show that Jubilee is there when we know that Jubilee is dead, is long dead.
Moses Kuria, if that is how you feel about Jubilee, where are you headed exactly? We've seen you almost dancing between parties after that, and I want to know, first of all, we know that you have voted on a Jubilee ticket, so I'll ask you a bit later on when you're planning to formally leave Jubilee, because it sounds like that's what you intend to do.
That's true. I can tell you without any fear of contradiction that 11 months from now, I will not be a Jubilee member.
What are you waiting for?
We are waiting for that big announcement, Parliament to be dissolved. And that is the reality we have. Even the people who are in government, they're also planning the same. I mean, people who are in the executive. So, it's not something to be ashamed of. Jubilee is gone, we're out of Jubilee, and we are all making plans for next year. Why? Not for the way that our law is framed as to punish voters to go back to elections all the time. I can tell you that right now Jubilee would just be a shell. But that's a political reality. Legally, you can argue this way or that way.
Yes.
But politically speaking, Jubilee is gone and Jubilee is dead.
Kabando, Moses Kuria, and thanks Kabando for making time for us. Moses Kuria has used the word liquidation. I don't know if you see the situation any different, and what your thoughts are when you have, or rather your thoughts on the implications of this, when a ruling party cannot agree internally, what that means for a country.
Thank you very much, Wahiga, for having us on Citizen TV tonight and for this very topical issue. It's a fact, and undeniably so, that Jubilee is as dead as a dondo. The formation of Jubilee was with the very good intentions of creating a national party. But soon, after we had put the structures in place, there was evidence from the very beginning that Jubilee was destined for the wrong route. And therefore, these presentations at Pangani are just showy, bravandos. It has no meaning. They are not addressing the real issues. They are fighting their internal battles that have nothing to do with the interests of the common person, that has nothing to do with the sovereignty or the growth of the economy or peace in Kenya. There are big problems in this country. But the fact that the Secretary General, the majority leader in the National Assembly, and the retinue of Jubilee officials in courts of issues because they were really not elected by anyone, and they have avoided such elections. They are interim to date. That they can only find time to wage a battle against the deputy president, notwithstanding that there may be issues that they want to address. But they cannot find time as a ruling party, as a governing party, to address the myriad problems facing Kenyans, the economic recession, the collapse of the health sector, the millions of students who cannot join high school or even universities. The therapies are being done on Mondays and Tuesdays in all the villages in Kenya. It means that Jubilee has lost direction. It is a meaningless outfit, and they should know that they are illegitimate. And the sooner they stop shouting from Pagani, which itself is a center of confusion, the better for this republic. In fact, the focus should be for constitutional commissions. The focus should be constitutional commissions, the IBC, the National Police Service, the National Cohesion Commission, and other constitutional bodies to focus on the countdown to Tuesday, 9th August 2022, for Kenyans to peacefully, fairly and justly elect a new government, because this government is a serious letdown. And if there is anyone telling the president or those around him that things are good, those individuals must be only cheating.
Yes.
And I think...
Yeah, and a bit later on, I'll want to be... Yeah, I was saying a bit later on, I'll want to talk to you a bit about the economy, because you've already brought that up, and Moses Kuria. But briefly tell me this, Kabando, how will this end? That's a question I know has been asked by many. How will it end in your view?
Well, we said nearly over 3 years ago that the Ruto alliance had become unholy, and BBI had become a fraud and a deception. And the only way to end this, the solution to end this, is just to ensure that the institutions mandated to safeguard Kenya's constitution, and therefore the transition after 9th of August next year, which means after the democratic elections of next year, we move on peacefully. That's the only way forward. For now, we cannot wish that President Uhuru and Ruto reunite. In fact, they should not reunite. Things are no longer at ease. The center cannot hold. Things are falling apart. And the BBI is completely gone, is dead. Therefore, it is for them. The president should abide to the law. The deputy president should comply with the law. And the other individuals should stop allying with either of the functions to precipitate a continuity of the trickery that is happening in the political scene. I think what Kenyans want now is peace and concentration of government institutions to do their work.
Okay.
And then we are all hoping for new elections and a new government. This government time is over, and they should be preparing to hand over, and they should not dare think about continuity or militarization of our politics, like it appears some people think it can happen, and they think that Uhuru cannot go anywhere. We must have a transition, and that transition, democratically done, will be the solution to Kenya's problem. We must bury this government, and it must exit.
You have made your point quite clearly. Moses, let me get your thoughts on that, even as you maybe want to respond to what Kabando has said. So what does that mean for you? You're an elected official, elected MP rather, within the Jubilee party. So what party are you then aligned to at this moment, Moses Kuria? Where are you? Well, not physically, but party-wise.
Legally, of course, I'm a member of the Jubilee party. But in terms of affiliation, I am affiliated with Chama Chakazi, a party that I have helped other people in founding, and that is going to carry our agenda, collective agenda, and aspirations as a team that put together the party. So that's a reality, and I think other people are making similar plans elsewhere, and that is a democratic culture that we have bequeathed upon ourselves, that we know very well, as sure as day follows night, that on the 9th of August in the year of our Lord 2022, we are going to have voting for new leadership in this country. And so, therefore, it is only wise and prudent that people make decisions like the one I've taken to associate myself with Chama cha Kazi.
Does Chama cha Kazi have any link with UDA? We've previously seen you associated with UDA.
Well, if you go to the registrar of political parties, there is no affiliation between Chama cha Kazi and UDA. Those are two distinct parties. However, I believe that Chama cha Kazi and UDA share the same ideology because we are both members of the House Coalition. We are not just members, but we are founding members of the House Coalition. But in terms of legal instrument of affiliation, there exists none. These are two distinct parties bound together by ideology. But, there are some things that we share in common and some things which we see things differently. And that is a beautiful thing and the essence of our democracy.
Maybe what I should have asked directly is you've previously in the past said you'll support Deputy President William Ruto in next year's general election. Do you still hold that view? Is that the position of Chama cha Kazi?
I still do, and the party still do support the Deputy President William Ruto. Unless, of course, he asks us not to, which we are very obedient and we were brought up well by our parents, which we will oblige.
Okay, that's an interesting answer. Because you have also said on the record that you will not vie next year. Is that a position you still hold? Are you?
Yeah, that's a position I still hold. And by the way, Wahiga, people take political parties for granted. Running a political party is a full-time job by itself. And the reason why we are in this trouble is because we took our parties for granted. We forgot that parties are the carriers and they're the carriers of the vision of ideologies. And so therefore running a party in a democratic way, in a fair way, is a full-time job by itself. Government is formed by parties. Government is not formed by circles. Government is not formed by welfare societies. Government is formed by political parties. And so therefore, if we are able to birth our political parties in the right way, then we are going to have effective government. One of my real concern is that I believe, and you have asked what way forward, is that the Jubilee experiment was very unfortunate. It was very sad. And I think that Jubilee as one grand party was born prematurely. You will recall in the first term that President Uhuru Kenyatta on the ballot paper of 2013, he was there as a TNA party, as is my colleague Kabando and mine in the first time in Parliament. And William Ruto was there as a URP. And you will agree with me that there was much more mutual respect. There was much more, consensus. There was much more, there was much less dictatorship than what we have seen under the behemoth that was the Jubilee Party. So it is a lesson to learn. I think that the unity of Jubilee Party was rushed. Both our parents, the president and the deputy president, have got their fair share of blame on this matter. But I think that I believe that history is a wonderful lesson to learn. It is, yes, a terrible bed to sleep in. We cannot sleep in the bed of history forever. But it's still a wonderful lesson to learn. And I hope that people have learned from debacle that was Jubilee, and now we are going to have more honest, more refined, and more patient conversations as we look at the way forward in terms of our politics.
Kabando, Moses has opened up an interesting discussion about lessons that Kenyans should learn from where we find ourselves today. For you, what crucial lessons have you picked up? What would you say the country should be aware of to ensure that we get out of a season, and it's been a long season, not just the last 5 years, of political parties that seem dysfunctional, only created as vehicles for elections and not carriers of ideals?
I do partly agree with what my brother Moses is saying. However, what is important now is to ensure that the Constitution of the Republic of Kenya is observed and is implemented, for it is the hallmark of our governance. If it doesn't work, or if it is sabotaged, as efforts have been orchestrated in the recent past, then it will mean that even with strong political parties or parties with good structures and elected officials, there will be major threats. Therefore, our foremost focus should be to ensure that in the countdown to 2022 elections, that is 336 days to go, we observe and we compel and we do demand of all players compliance to the constitution of our country. Number two, to insist on solid policies that are structured, that are agreed, and which should constitute the manifestos of all the parties, whether presenting presidential candidates or not, any party presenting a candidate at any level from MCA to the presidency, so that those manifestos are registered and they are pronounced and the agreements are made public. We do not know, Wahiga, what was the inside agreement between Uhuru and Ruto. We don't know the transactions that happened between the two. Now, yesterday, we are being told by the so-called Secretary General of the cacophonous Pagani Center that Ruto was asking for 50% of the government. Uhuru never told us that. We had many sessions with him. So it means that there has been a lot of conspiracies, a lot of ad deals.
Is this the first time you heard that, Kabando? Is this the first time you heard that? Was it news to you?
We have heard it many times. We also knew about some of the machinations and so on and so forth. But you know, when they are pronounced by the high-ranking officials of a governing party, they carry weight, and the evidence is presented more lucidly than it would through some socio or random discussions. What I'm saying is that whatever is being discussed now, for instance, I have seen my friend Moses, my colleague Mwangi Kionjori, and our friend Mother trying to bring political leaders together. It's a good move. And everybody in any community and in every region has a right and has the obligation to bring unity or purpose for one agenda or the other in the interest of regions, communities, and the country. But what needs to be emphasized is exactly what we are discussing and what we want to put on the table. Because Uhuru and Ruto in 2012 at the Afra Stadium and thereafter in the presidential campaigns talked about uniting two communities that were fighting. And it was not essentially bad, because it's true that there have been a struggle between the Kalejins and the Kikuyus, particularly in the Rift Valley, since the onset of multi-party politics, largely because of the politics of division and the politics of atrocity and violence that happened during the KANU time in 1992 elections and 1987. So we understood that agenda to be positive. But what we need to do is now this route to invest in contracts that are pronounced. Remember, in the year 2002, the Liberal Democratic Party of Raila Odinga, Jose Toti, and others that had broken away from the falling KANU then, went into a contract with the National Alliance Party of Kenya of Mwai Kibaki, Charity Gilu, and Wamalwa. I was at Hilton witnessing the signing of MOU. But little did we know about the top structure of governments that were being arranged between LDP and NAK. Immediately after elections, barely 6 months into the new government of the Rainbow Coalition, hell broke loose because the MOU was not implemented.
I think the message
there is importance to is about political honesty, political honesty, and ending political chicanery. That is political deception and the politics of this community entering into an agreement with another community and this individual negotiating with another individual so that they can be at the high table.
Kabando.
We need to have all those negotiations that are happening and that will be entered and will be registered to be pronounced at the Hulpak or any other public fora. And the people remain accountable to those instruments after the elections. Otherwise, we'll have the arrangement that we have had between Uhuru and Ruto, and now, according to some of us, analyzing, Uhuru did not mean to go the whole way, and Ruto knew that it was not going to go the whole way. But now they are subjecting the whole country, a president and his deputy, to a lot of unnecessary acrimony and noise.
Kabando,
and accusations
yes.
and counter-accusations.
Thank you.
That are not on the national menu.
Okay, allow me to interrupt you there. We do need to take a short break, and then Moses, I need to come back to you. I've got a lot I want to ask you as well. We're just getting into the discussion. We've barely scratched the surface. When we come back, we talk a bit more about coalitions, the challenge of political parties, but also the state of the economy. In 2019, Moses Kuria said something very interesting about Parliament's role in oversighting debt. We seek more clarification on that and so much more. And we read your feedback as well. You're watching Newsnight. Stay with us. We'll be right back with this discussion.